Hello there, everyone. How are you? This is Antonia. Pleased to see you again. Okay, so I put together Social Worker Tips Part 2. Okay, so I don't know if anyone saw Part 1, but it's out there. If you look for it, you'll find it. Okay. All right, so let's move along. Okay, so the general strategies for family assessment part A. Okay, so we have on our list here genuineness, empathy, respectfulness, patience, and listening. So basically what we mean by all this, when you're in a family's home and you're going to be assessing, you need to demonstrate all of this. Okay, there's a lot to demonstrate because you want to build up a rapport with this family so that you can continue to work with them. You don't know how long you may be working with them. Okay. I mean, I had cases, I've worked in the system for 7 years. I had cases that lasted even 3 years, 4 years. I think it was up to 4 years on one of them in particular, I remember. Some of them go, get closed and then they come back. And then you could wind up like maybe when you were working in PD, but before you came into family services, you had them there. And that might have been even 2 years. And then all of a sudden now it trickles down that they need to be monitored. And now they're in family services. Maybe that's where you are now. And I had such. And then I wound up with particular cases that I had for 3 years. So I basically even knew the case for even 5 years. So this does happen and you want to build a rapport. You really need to do that very carefully, because they have to believe that you want to help them, right? It's very important. You really want them to feel that you are genuine and that you care. So demonstrating these qualities are really seriously important. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. Part B. Okay, what do we have here? We have support from the worker, right? That goes without saying, but you want to show your support. And, it's something that you have to demonstrate in your conversations with them. Okay, when you talk about the concerns and their strengths, you're having conversation with them. You can demonstrate that in your conversation to show support. You could talk about ways that you can help, can offer services. Okay, and we have clarifying data, culture, and family competence. Okay, so clarifying the data, whatever that case came in as, or what is going on, or what you have to monitor in your conversation with them, with the family, you want to clarify all this. You want to get into conversation that you can get into all the different parts, all the categories, all the information that was gathered, and you have to lay that out in a very demonstrative way to show them you're supporting them. You can offer services. You're going to ask them to talk about even their concerns and discuss their strengths. Besides, you may be mentioning this along the way as well because you're going to be working with them, right? Okay, and culture. Very important to learn about their culture. You need to find out about their culture so that you know how to talk with them. It could be something as simple as maybe in their culture, when you come into their home, you have to take off your shoes. It'll be a nice thing to find out how they feel about that. You have to ask them things, let them know that you're open to this. Let them know, please let me know if you need me to take off my shoes when I come in the door. Or maybe you can carry those little, you could find them on Amazon. They have these shoe covers. We use them even in real estate, and when you're going in and out of people's homes, they're disposable. You could try that. That might be a good idea as well. You want to show them that you care about their home. You want to respect them. Okay, family competence, you want to check that out. You really need to find out about that. You want to see if they're really all together in taking care of their family, the parents. You want to find that out, right? We want to work with that. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Moving along, let's go to next slide. Assessment, part C. Okay, what do we have here? We have hope, transparency, prepare for assistance. We have support from family and friends, and flexible schedule. Okay, so hope. You want to offer them hope. It's important. You want them to feel that you're paying attention to them, right? You want to make them feel that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Transparency. You want to be very truthful and upfront with them. You want to be transparent. Let them know that you're on the level with them, so they know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how things could go. Case, an ACS case is serious. It's going to go through the court system. It may, stay there for a while. These are things that you want to, convey to them. Okay. Support from family and friends or friends, right? You never know. There might be people out there that are in their family that you want to ask them. Do they have very supportive friends or family members that they can mention? Excuse me, I just want to get a little drink here. Very interesting. Clove tea. It's really very, very tasty. I like it. I make it fresh with the cloves. It's not a tea bag that you buy. So I just boil the cloves and strain it. And it has really very nice benefits. It's very interesting. You guys should Google it. You'll love to read about the benefits of cloves. Okay. Now, what do we have here? We talked about the support of family and friends. You want to ask them if they have any family or friends that help them out. I'm sure they do. If they don't, then you are the support team, right? Flexible schedule. You want them to know that you can be flexible, and vice versa. You want them to be flexible with you. But this is all in your demonstrative conversation and how you use your words and your empathy and how you demonstrate your respect and your genuineness. See, all those parts, they come together, offering them hope. These are all the parts of being humane. Your actions, your heart, coming out in your words when you talk to these family members. You want to convey this to them so they feel that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's really so, so important that you give them that. Okay? All right. Let's move along. Assessment Part D. Okay, we have engage conversation, using tools and forms. Family members participate to fill out the forms, right? Okay, and examples are maps and genograms. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that section. You always want to engage them in conversation. You want to always be up and up on that. You don't want to be like that silent caseworker that's coming in like a police officer or something like that, or you're looking down on them, and because they have a case that, you know, like that they shouldn't even be spoken to, or or it's making them feel standoffish or something like that. We don't want anything like that to come across. You want to engage in respectful conversation. You want to show them your support in conversation. Not to go without saying that if the case turned and you had to take anybody to court, or it became investigative, that that's where transparency comes in. You're letting them know the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Okay. Using forms, these forms that I'm talking about, you can get printouts, or you could even have them make the squares and the circles or the triangles, or whichever way they want to make them. Okay. Basically, what this is a map about themselves. And it's helpful. It's very engaging, and it'll help with your engaging conversation. So what is a map or a genogram? It's talking about, like, if the person decide they want to use circles, there's a lot of circles on a page, right? And they could be all different categories. The person puts their name in the middle, and then there'll be lines and branches that go out all around, and there'll be other circles, and maybe one of the circles could be school, another one could be home, maybe another one could be friends or activities, or or holidays, or things excuse me, things that they like to do. Okay, that would be maybe a child's perspective. And with the parents, they would have a different group of things that they would be speaking about, which that comes along a little later on, I believe. Let me see. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. Okay. So, for when it comes to the parents, they could be talking about their job in those little sections, their career, or maybe they go to school. All their different categories can be in that as well. And what that does is gives you a bird's eye view of more information. Okay. Well, then we have here honesty, investigations, requirements for investigations. Well, you always want to be honest and up with these families, and especially with the investigations that you're coming in with the allegation, and you have to assess, or if you're in an FSU unit in your family services, you're always assessing for the possibility that it may turn into an investigation. And if it is, what happens at that point is you have to actually call in a case if you see something of some kind of a danger, because you can't move forward from that point. Now it has to be an investigation, and then it goes back to a PD unit, and then it'll come back to you again later on, or maybe to another unit, most likely to you, because you had the case before. And requirements of investigations, what are they? Anything that's showing a risk, and a danger, an immediate, imminent danger to the child, or a specific kind of abuse, violence of some kind. Okay, all this goes under that category. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, we have icebreakers, conversations with the parents. So here's some kind of icebreaker kind of questions to start in a conversation. Like if you're meeting them for the first time. I have here, how long at the current home? You can ask them, how long have you lived here? Did you wish to live somewhere else, and where would that be? Describe your personality. When you're angry, what do you do? I mean, how do you calm yourself down, or, what's your whole process about being angry? I know for me, like if I was angry about something, well, I would just take my deep breath. Maybe I have to walk off the floor. Just take a quick walk around if I was in the building and I was working, just do a little quick walk, maybe to the cooler, get some water, or if I'm home and I feel that way, maybe I might step outside to take a walk in the garden or walk up the block, something like that. Yeah. Some people like to listen to some music. You want to get away from whatever it was that was bothering you, something like that. Hmm? Okay. Tell me about your traditions, holidays, and then we have what is your favorite meal. So these are really nice opening icebreaker kind of questions. It kind of helps relax the atmosphere so that you're not looking like, you're jumping right into, you know, attack them with like, okay, you're the bad guy and things like that. You want to, you know, come at this in a humane fashion. Okay, that's important. Okay, next slide. Icebreaker conversation for kids. What kind of questions could we ask kids that would be icebreaker? What do you do for fun, right? What are your thoughts about your family members? If they have a lot of siblings, you could ask them how do they feel about each one of their sisters and brothers. Maybe they have a pet, they could talk about their pet. Tell me about your school, teachers, friends. You can ask them questions like that. You know, how long is recess? What do you do during recess? What do you eat for lunch? What is your favorite subject or subjects? What are your TV heroes, or who are your TV heroes and who are your real life heroes? Maybe uh, the real life hero could be an aunt, an uncle, a friend. You never know, next door neighbor. And these are things that you need to remember because it may come up again, and then you want to make sure that they feel that you are really listening. It's very important. You have to jot down some notes for yourself when you get back to the car or whatever. You want them to always, like if you had to come back and say something, at least they know that you were really seriously listening to them. They love that. And they know that you care. That gives them a demonstration of that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Assessment tools. Okay, this is the other part that we were talking about, the maps and the genograms. Okay, so we have each person in the family meeting gets a form to make a picture or a map about their life, right? Circles, squares, triangle, rectangles, whatever they want to draw on their paper. Children can talk about self, the school, the family, the fun, the wants, the needs. The adults, they could talk about the self, the partner, the children, the wants, the needs, the job, the career, the school, the culture, the friends, etc. Whatever else they want to put in. They want to make a square, triangle, rectangle, whatever they want to do, knock themselves out. Just make it like a fun tool. That could be fun. Instead of sitting there feeling um, like they're being overwhelmed with a million and one questions. So instead of you asking all these questions, it's going to be right there on your gram. you know, make it an activity. That could be fun. And you can give them a sample. You can start with yourself. I always like to do that. I start with myself, you know. Of course, you're not going to give them your personal life. You could just put in there some other things that are not personal to give them an idea, you know. Hmm? All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so is the home stable? The current housing stability, current up-to-date rent, leasing, mortgage, income, income difficulties, landlord, utilities. All this comes under the scenario of stability. You know, you want to ask these questions. This is important. You know, you want to find out if they're leasing, renting, is there a lease? Are they renting? Do they have a mortgage? Are they able to handle it? You want to find out about income. Is everything stable with that, or do they need help? Because, you know, ACS has so many resources. There's something for everyone. There definitely will be some kind of resource out there that we can help the family with. You want to find out about the landlord, how, you know, make sure that there's no problems going on there. Because maybe you could even help out, you know. Utilities, that's important to find out about. You want to make sure they're having no problem with their bills, they're up to date. If not, you know, there are things that ACS can do to um, guide them with where they can talk to someone about that. And ACS can help with that so much, because I remember in a case where we wrote a letter to let them know that there is a case in progress, you know, because we wanted to make sure that their lights were not going to be turned off, and that the family was pursuing some kind of help, you know, so that the utility company knows, you know, because if they're going to turn off the electricity, they could wind up in a lawsuit case, right? Because you think about it, what, you know, if you don't have electricity and you have a little baby and you can't use your stove, or you don't have lights, or you know, your refrigerator goes and everything, and your food, how are you going to take care of the kids properly? That's going to be a real problem. So, you know, the caseworker could come up with a generalized kind of a letter that also has to be approved from managers, or, you know, your supervisors, to address that possible issue, to help somehow to avoid it. So those are all possibilities and go under this stability. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, home conditions part A. What do we have here? We have health, cleanliness, safety, right? Childproofing. I have the word here locked, and then I have poisons, cleaners, medications, and then I have outlets. Okay, so you want to be looking for, you're looking at the conditions, right? So you're looking for the cleanliness of the home. That's important. I mean, you get really sick from bacteria and stuff. Can't, you know, cleanliness, and sometimes you have to be, you know, you want to make sure that you're not seeing, like if they have a dog, or we're hoping that we're not seeing like feces from the dogs all over the place or whatever, and then you have babies crawling around, like that's a health issue. Okay, so you're looking for all kinds of things like that. Like you want to make sure that food is being thrown in a trash can and not just thrown all over the floor. I mean, you know, this is what you're looking for. Safety issues. You want to be looking at every little thing. Loose wires hanging out of the wall or things like that. Um, Childproofing. You want to make sure that they have everything to make sure that the babies or children that are walking around not putting their fingers in outlets or any loose outlets. There's things that you could put in there. So there's little plugs so that children don't put their fingers in there, in the socket. These are the little things that we're looking for. When you're walking in a room, you just don't walk through a room. You're scanning it up and down and all around. You're looking at everything, the outlets, the ceiling. You're looking for any holes and cracks and everything. You want to make sure that things that could be quite dangerous, we don't want any children getting access to poisons, cleaners, or medications. All that has to be locked away. Has to be a place for it. If they don't, you're teaching them right there at that moment that gets done today. They could have to figure out a way to put it somewhere it gets locked up. Outlets, you want to make sure they're safe. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, what do we have here? Home condition B. Now we're looking at the kitchen, the bathroom. Okay, we want to make sure everything is functioning. In the kitchen and the bathroom, you're looking at faucets, right? You're making sure the lights turn on and off. You're doing that in every room. You're looking at everything. You want to make sure it can be functionable. The refrigerator, everything. The beds, you want to make sure they have beds. Everyone has a bed. Let's see, we have water, heat, and air. Everybody should have that in their home. Food in the refrigerator, in the cabinets. You could ask them to open it up. You don't want them to feel that you invaded their privacy. You could ask them, can you please open up your refrigerator? Can you show me where your food is in the cabinets? They could be your little helpers. Okay, you want to look at the property safety. You want to look around, and you want to make sure that when they're walking up a staircase, they're not falling. Do they have banisters? What's the condition of the steps? Stuff like that, right? Any odors, you want to be looking. You want to, take a deep breath because you never know. Could be any kind of thing. And what does it mean? What is it? Because it could be a safety issue. We don't know, right? Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, home condition C. Okay, health again here. The vermin, bugs, clutter. You want to make sure there's no bugs crawling and dropping all over the place. I've seen that in homes. If you have mice and rats running around, that's a problem. These people are going to have to leave. I mean, they can get traps, but I don't, if that doesn't get resolved or the landlord's not taking care of it, they're going to have to leave that place because you can't have little children around all that. They're going to get sick. Clutter, that could be a hazard. I remember going into a house one time and things were like sky high, like it looked like you had a trail to walk in the living room to the bedroom to the kitchen or whatever. It was scary. I thought that everything was going to fall on me. That is a big fat no. It's got to go. And you can give them a period of time. You could take pictures of it. I remember I was told to you could always discuss this with your supervisor and manager. I remember I was told to take pictures of it. And so we gave them like about 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours, and I came back in 2 days, 2 or 3 days, to see that they did something about it. Okay, that's what all that means. Matches, knives, access to arms, all that's danger. You want to make sure these things are not, like out in the open. They should be locked up. Windows, guards, screens, you want to make sure that those are all in working good condition so nobody gets hurt. There's nothing worse than a window that constantly likes to drop down. You ever see those kind of windows? You lift them up and boom, they come sliding down. That's not functional. Danger, danger. You see, God forbid if a kid puts their hands on that sill and chop off their fingers. We don't want that. So you're checking everything. It's almost like you're working in the real estate business when you're actually going through an apartment or a house and you're looking at things. You are checking everything. It's got to be A-OK, functional, healthy, all that. Okay. Fire hazards, alarms. You want to make sure, those alarms and the batteries are working condition. You want to check all those batteries. If they don't have it, I know the ACS office I worked in, we could actually sign for them. And then at my next visit, I would come back. Even the next day, I would go back and give them the fire alarm. Some agencies stock them up, and we give them to our families. Appliances, you want to make sure every appliance is in working condition. Okay. Okay, next slide. Financial. Sufficient finances, combination. The combination I mean by they have a job and plus they're getting public benefits. You never know. It could be food stamps, maybe it's Section 8, and they're getting checks, or someone in the home might even have Social Security. We don't know. You want to know about all these combinations, because if there's not enough funds for them to live properly, we could help them with that. Okay. Hardships. We want to find out if that's what's going on, because then we could try to help with that. With food, we could give them places to go. There's pantries that they can go to. You can give them a list. Okay, so that's what that part means. Let's go to next slide. Relationships. I have here siblings getting along, conflicts, resolving, who steps in to help in the conflict, successful solutions, and any violence. So this is all part of your assessing, This could be the thing that keeps ongoing. You always want to see what's going on. Siblings can get along or not get along, and what do they do when, a conflict happens, or what do they do to try to resolve it, and who's helping them? You want to make sure that there's no violence going on, because, that can't be tolerated. We can't have the possibility of someone getting seriously injured. So we want to watch for all that. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This is our last slide. We have parents getting along. Are the parents getting along with each other? You can find that when you're interviewing everyone. Negotiations respectfully. You want to see it. You want to find out if how do they try to resolve something. If they get into arguments, you want to find out if there's any threats or violence. Got to ask these questions. There's even a domestic violence questionnaire that goes along with all this. That's another form. And if it's all going to be positive, that's wonderful. But I mean, that's another form. That's the department where I told you about using your tools. That's a form. And it's important, because maybe they may not be able to speak it because that person is in the home, the partner. But if you give them that paper that they could, do it on their leisurely, you give it to each one of them, that will be fantastic. Or if they want to come up to the agency and do it with you, that would be another idea. Parenting skills, responsibilities. You want to kind of get that feeling for that. You're going to have to ask questions around this to see, what do they do? How do they parent? And you want to watch it too. You're going to be seeing it because you'll be sitting there live. You get to see the actions of whatever's going on. Kids are going to ask a parent for something or talk about something, and then you can see how they're interacting. Okay. And then it says here, any time in history of children in care. So that's a very important question. You want to find out if any of the children ever were in foster care or under any kind of temporary care or institutional care or whatever it is, any kind of care, you want to know about it. That's important. Because then you want to go back and check that history if you can find it somewhere. Find out what happened with that. It'll give you another bird's eye view about what's going on in this family with behavior and issues and how you can help them, because we have all kinds of services. It's important. This is not even all that goes into the assessment. There's a lot more, and you don't do it all in one day. You're not going to get it all done in one day, but these are the things that you'll be looking at in your case. I'll have more videos coming up. Again, like I said in my other videos, I thought it would be a great idea to give back to the community of anybody that's new coming into social work and wants to be a CPS. I figured it would be a nice thing to do to give you an idea from someone who actually experienced it so that you know what you're getting into, because like I always said before, it's not for everyone. It is definitely not for everyone, you know. For me, I've always been a helper all my life, so I mean, I really enjoyed helping the people. Okay, so I have a lot more coming up. So so this is geared more for the new worker coming out of that academy who's now, going to be in an 18-month probation, working in an agency. If you take a spin through these, go through them real slow, you'll absorb it. You get an idea of what that kind of conversation, that engagement, when you knock on that door and you walk in this house, and your conversation you're going to have with these people. I wish that I had this. I mean, I went through it, but like I said, I wish I had all this, because even though I went through the academy and I passed through everything and I passed all my tests, and yes, we went into the field with someone else, that is not a novice at this, has been doing this. We would go out into the field with other workers and shadow them. That was the terminology used, shadowing, so that you could watch live what they do. But it's a whole different thing when you're actually going out there to investigate a new case. So, basically the cases that I went on, this was a case that was already the worker's case. So I wasn't going to see what I am putting out in these videos, like from the beginning of what you have to do with these families. I didn't see that demonstration. I mean, we talk about these scenarios when you're in a classroom and you're in groups and you learned about these things, but I thought that this would be a great idea to make the slides, because when you finish with that schooling, I mean, you're not going to be like walking around with your textbook, with those big, books and all those pages that you had when you were doing those particular scenarios. So it's kind of like, oh, Okay, it would be nice if I had this in a nutshell. So I thought I would do the PowerPoints because that's a real quickie. You could spin through that very quickly and say, oh, yeah, I got to do this. I'm going to be looking at that. I got, because to go from pages and chapters and sit and read paragraphs, I mean, your eyeballs could just pop out. And I remember that's what happened to me. I felt like it was like, oof, that's a lot. But I did it. But like I said, I would have been real happy if I had something like this. So I thought, why don't I do that? It's a nice thing. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed putting this together. I will put a lot more together for you in other categories. I'll continue on with everything I remember so that the newbies, the new social workers on the field can see everything in a condensed format. Okay, so you have a good evening and thank you for viewing the video, and you have a blessed evening. All right, bye-bye.